Welcome to another episode of our Female Gentle Leaders podcast with Poli, me, your host, your holistic business architect and energy healer. And today, from far, far away, from another part of the world, from Australia. So for me, it's morning. For Marie, it's evening. Here with Marie Ferguson. She's a feminine embodiment mentor, a breathwork facilitator, author, coach, and just an amazing woman that I really love. So I'm so happy that you're here, Mary, and we would like to share with you all here something about our archetypes, feminine flow, generational wealth, and also new Thrive Talks live in person event coming in Australia just in a few days or weeks, right? I never remember the weeks in a few
Yeah.
weeks. So
Yeah.
welcome to our little world here. And Mary, could you tell us more about what you are doing now with your clients and in your business?
Amazing. Oh, thank you, Polly, for having me on. It's such a pleasure to be connecting with amazing women around the world. And I love how we met through the Women Thrive Summit space with all of these amazing speakers because, this beautiful way that we get to connect around the world and through like minded leadership is really powerful. So, first of all, thank you for having me on. And something that led me to this place now of speaking in online platforms like this and speaking and creating my own platforms really stemmed from what feels like a past life in education. I've been teaching for 16 years, high school and primary school, and teaching in the arts. So that real foundation in drama and dance and that inner child work where every day was I got to play games with the young people in my classroom, sitting in circles, setting projects that we could work on. And that deep love for community and the creative arts has always been a core feature of my essence. And what I'm doing now and working with women, with the youth, with building event spaces for communities, again, has that essence at the core of how we can connect and bring fun and play and empowerment and amazing people together to change the world. And that's part of the big mission on my heart and what I do.
And I really love it because it's our joint mission, right? I love creating events and I see how you are creating them. And exactly what you said, fun and just enjoy the days, the friendships, the communities together. And even this part in business is often ridiculed, I feel like. You can't have fun, you're working, you should be serious.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
then what happens, right? When we don't have fun with our business, when we don't enjoy it, how can we do it long term, right? And you are in business and you're working for so long. So, what do you feel was that point in your life when you were in school that you decided, okay, now I will create my own project, my own business?
Yeah, beautiful question. We were talking earlier about burnout in business. I felt like I experienced anxiety burnout in education. So even before coming into this entrepreneurial world of business, which I never thought I would ever do, past self, that journey of coming back to my body, coming back to actually questioning what is it that I really desire and want, uh, was almost thrust upon me. In the education world, I see teachers, and I was one of them, that were overworked. Your big hearts are always going towards the young people in front of you, but there's so much paperwork involved, and you're part of a system and having to do reports, and the pressures in that realm shifted a lot in regards to what was required. And I suppose this is similar into other corporations or business or institutionalized settings where the stress load is a lot. And I was trying to expand my family because I have a daughter who's almost 8, and we were trying again for another baby. And unfortunately, I went through 3 miscarriages back to back in a 9-month period. So the universe, my body, external circumstances really gifted me some really deep lessons of what not listening to your body would look like, not listening to your heart and your soul's work, and really getting stuck in my head, feeling the burnout, feeling the push, feeling the grind of having, like, I went back to work after my first miscarriage 2 weeks later. My body was so drained. I'd lost a lot of blood and iron. So I was so tired. And I did experience burnout, but I was in denial because I didn't allow myself to feel. I thought I grieved. I thought I did these things. But I was just in that hustle mentality, but also really in the martyrdom of like giving to everybody else and not really listening to me. And so I feel like the lessons that you're sharing in your beautiful masterclasses and podcasts, I've experienced a lot of that in this life, so that now that in this business framework and the energetics behind it, I can really integrate those lessons, really deeply listen to my body, listen to those nuanced feelings and the intuition to go deeper or to tap into this here and really cultivate this new level of self and empowerment and leadership that I never thought was possible. So yeah,
That's incredible. And only just listening to you, I get goosebumps because I can only imagine how hard it was. And I just need to catch that word that you were gifted something, because we often tend to see what happens in our lives, what is hard, as a punishment.
yeah,
What did I do to deserve this and this and this? But if we can switch it and look at it as a gift and get from it what we are supposed to learn from it, experience, grow from it, it really changes a lot, I would say. For me, even taking something away from more than 20 years of anxieties, it wasn't easy, right? I felt the same, like, why?
yeah,
Why? But now I see I have a different perspective towards my life and business, and you have the same. So my question is, what helps you in the day to day? You're a mom, you're a business owner, you experience so much. What helps you now to really tap into regularly, right? It's not
mm,
only once in a while tap in, body, dear body, what you need, right?
yeah. It's really powerful for me, it was to come back to the breath, because breath is life, and our nervous system and how we regulate, how we experience the world comes through our senses, how we touch, feel, taste, hear, smell, all of these sensory experiences for me to really hone back in on the senses of the body and also the breath, and being able to understand also the science behind when we can drop back into the parasympathetic nervous system to allow ourselves to notice those thoughts that can put us into anxiety, regulate our emotional intelligence, and being able to notice, those thought patterns, and to shift those internal dialogues that we have with ourselves in order to come back into a state of calm and logic. And a lot of that for me, like you were saying before, that anxiety. And I remember like having those moments of like, why me? I remember being in the car, being really anxious after my third miscarriage, getting all these thoughts in my head where I thought people were judging me. People thought that, and these are my own thoughts, that I was broken, there's something wrong with me. All of these things that were in my own head that were making me feel anxious, I couldn't get out of the car. And so it was through the senses, through the long exhales, that allowed me to take those baby steps to regulate. And so every day I really tap into that breath when I wake up, bringing gratitude to my heart, putting my feet on the earth, and even just taking 3 deep breaths. You just feel an automatic difference. And so there's some of the really simple, easy things that we can all do to start shifting our awareness of our minds and our bodies, and how to come back into that more calmer state. So then we can tackle the big things, and just setting really small goals that I could tick off and get those little dopamine hits and get the things done as well. So there's lots of little things that are really simple that I love doing more of now.
I think I do most of them too. I really like the senses, and it's mindfulness work, right? That brings us back to here and now. And also, you have a now more than a 8-year-old daughter. So she sees her mom doing all this work, creating a business, changing the world. How do you think she sees you? Because this is why you do it too, right? You are creating the generational change too.
Yeah. It's beautiful to hear in conversations when we talk about things, and seeing also how she regulates herself now with her friends, and hearing the conversations she has. And one beautiful conversation we had when she was like 5, when I was deep in the work, really learning how to love myself again, because if I couldn't love myself, how could I expect anyone else to do that if I couldn't do it for myself? And I wanted my daughter to know that her worthiness isn't reliant on anybody else. And when she was 5, I remember putting her to bed, and she said to me, she's like, "Mummy, do you know who I love the most?" And I thought she was going to say me. And she was like, "Me." And she was 5. And so noticing, even at that age, that she could see me taking the time to nourish my body, to shift my awareness, to take the time to look after myself in that transitionary period of when I was in the dark night of the soul process. And for her to say that, these little gems drop in, which is beautiful. And I see her also going, she's like, "Mummy, I know what you're going to say. We're leaders. We're, it's," and she is a little leader, and it's like showing up and being compassionate, but also taking that, I suppose, understanding that we have that essence to show others how to just own all themselves. So that's been really powerful. But I also know on the other side, with the shifts and the change in the workload of, online business and creating a movement, that there is still some imbalances, and noticing like her saying, "Mummy, you're on the phone too much," or "You're on this, let's spend time." And then just reminding me of okay, who are we doing this for again?
So could you tell us more about your mission? Because you already tackled it a little bit, but what do you feel is for you as a leader the priority?
It's beautiful. And there's a warmth in my heart, and this ability to change a whole paradigm of how we think and learn and be. And that's a big, big goal. And this dream takes many. And it's people like yourself, and there's other people around the world. And it's like, well, how do we connect like this, to speak from the heart, to truly embody this wave of living authentically and soulfully, that is not just, oh, I'm the mum today, or I'm going to have these superficial conversations here, or I'm just going to do this here but then really worry about this here, and really have this fragmented way of being in the world, because I know what that's like when we have to put this hat on here and have to be this character here. You know, as women, we're very good at putting the hats on and stepping into these different roles. And you were talking about archetypes earlier, and there are many. You know, a lot of us women play the victim. We are the princess. We want to be saved, you know, and this is ingrained in society. And so, again, another layer of the work that I've been drawn to is coming back to that divine feminine essence, where we step into our queen energy, that divine goddess, where we own that sovereignty and worthiness within us. And that understanding of the feminine gets to then enhance our masculine energy in a really aligned way, because yin and yang, masculine, feminine, you know, the light, the shadow, this world is a world of duality and polar experiences. And it's not about shunning this side of the shadows and always being in the light. And I know you talk about this too, but it's like, how do we get to integrate that into our body and make that experience an enriching one that is the continuous gift, that we understand the depth of our experience and the gifts of this life, in the contrast, in the magnitude of our emotions, and really embrace that. And having more people understand this as a super gift, like a superhero gift that we have.
I love how you talk about the feminine flow and the archetypes. Yes, it's our joint love, right? I have my own archetypes. You work with archetypes I think your entire life, right? So what is the difference? Maybe like that. Could we start like that? When we
Yeah.
are not in our feminine flow, right? And then when we step into it, we already, I think we can feel it, but just putting it into words would be amazing.
Yeah. And for those that don't know what the term archetype means, it's a universal term to understand like themes and patterns that appear regardless of space or time or in a person. So it's, you know, if we think about characters, like I think about fairy tales and things like that. These are themes and patterns that create like a hero character, you know, or, you know, we think about mythology, the gods, the goddesses, they've got those hero qualities, but they also have, you know, some of them are like warrioress, warlike, and some of them are really soft and motherly. And so to understand what an archetype is as like a character. And when we can embrace the fact that we are the main character of our own life and can step into the spotlight and to be the lead character and own that, then it's interesting to notice that all of these other characters that we have played in our lives then become like holistically and wholly integrated. And we can then choose to play different parts, you know. For example, I know you, Polly, you had a number of different business matrix archetypes, and the what was it, the hack genius one with the ideas, you know. I was like, yeah, that's me. I have so many ideas coming through, and I'm a unicorn, and I can like do this here and do this here and do this here, and I've always been able to do that. And part of me also shunned it in the past, because like you were talking about in your shadows in your last masterclass, that we can belittle ourselves because people think we're doing too much and we're stretching our energy. And when you were describing this archetypal pattern and behavior, that was something that really resonated with me as I've stepped into this business mind frame. And for me, it's only been really a year and a half because of the foundation that I've had in education and knowing myself in that process of evolutionary growth, in the depth, in the shadows, fully, shedding the identity so I could rise like the phoenix and step in to the unicorn that I am, that can do multiple things because I know how my energy works. And archetypes is one way of understanding the lens. There are many different tools. And so that one, for example, I embrace that now. And I know that my energy can handle that. And I can have this summit happening here. I can do a podcast here. I know that I've got a meeting happening here. And just with divine grace, sharing just authentically with the people that are in here to help hold me in that, it gets to be a beautiful then relationship and dance with like-minded people that are like, I see you. I get what you're doing. It's okay. And then that shift just fully then takes you to another level. And I'm in this precipice moment of amazing transitions happening. So perfectly timed with your archetypes there, Polly. I loved that one.
I'm glad you love them. I love them too. And I feel all the archetypes, wherever, if they are my archetypes or other ones, because there are many, right, in the world, they also help us accept the shadow, right? Embrace it. And for me, this was the most important part of my archetypes, that we can see the deep desires of our soul that we might have just pushed down, like it's not okay, as you said, it's not okay to jump from one project to another, or it's not okay to want to be covered in gold or whatever. But when we embrace it, it doesn't mean we need to be like that all the time, right? It just means that we will relax in it and we let it come to us as it's supposed to be for us. And as you said, exactly, I'm on the precipice with you. So, year and a half in my global business, now in different summits, on your summit too. And if Australia wouldn't be like really, really far away, I would love to join the Thrive Talks too. So, can you tell us more about the adventures that are now in front of you?
I love that you described it as an adventure because I hadn't actually thought of it that way, but it has been. So,
It's an adventure. You're like, oh my God, how is he called? Jones something.
Indiana Jones. Yes, I got
Indiana
you.
Jones, yes.
Um, yeah. Now that you framed it that way and that you see it that way, because I didn't resonate with the adventurer archetype until then, and it's like, yeah, actually, it has been a beautiful adventure unfolding from us speaking in these showcases with Women Thrive, preparing for the summit that we're both a part of, and something inside me was like, okay, forge ahead. I'm good at creating things myself. What can I just be courageous and ask? And our beautiful founder Raymonda, who again, she has that adventure in her, she has that entrepreneur leader, and this is what she did years ago to create this. And I was like, I'm just going to ask her. I'm just going to be brave and go, hey, what if we did the Thrive Talks that you did at Valencia here in Australia? And it was just perfectly aligned because she was also dreaming and envisaging expansion. And so when we connect in like-minded spaces intuitively as well, and I know this collective work, that we tap into that. And in divine timing, finding those moments to be brave and adventurous and risk-taking, the gifts and the rewards from that are just, you don't know until they come up like a beautiful surprise. So where we are at now with Thrive Talks, which is happening on Saturday, the 2nd of March here in Australia, in beautiful Greater Springfield area, which is the area that I live in. And part of that adventure was like, I'm just going to go to these venues, call them up, and just ask them, let's have a look, let's have a chat, and have these conversations. And then we booked our venue from there, and just chatting from, well, what else could come from that? Who else could we invite? Let's talk about sponsorships. Let's talk about bringing people together, and it's just unfolded in this beautiful way that people's dreams, women's dreams of connection get to unfold when we collaborate together, and that's what I found when I lean into people as our most precious resources, our hearts and our minds. The wealth comes in many forms. And for me, my experience has been a wealth of connection, a wealth of beautiful people that I can then tap into and connect with and co-create with. And that's the most magical thing that I suppose I forgot about. Because when we come together, like the money, that just gets to be a byproduct then, because it's the relationships that matter.
And I think that I always say that for me, money is like a cherry on top. It comes when I follow my passion, when I don't think about where the money is coming from, when I'm just creating what I'm supposed to create. I think it like that, right? So you were supposed to create the Thrive Talks in Australia, right? Everything is clicking into place and you can see it unfolding in front of you. And I think that this is the aligned growth that we can have. It's not the hustle growth, right? The finding where the money is, what exact program we should run or service to open, but really just do what makes us shine, because you are shining when you're talking about it. You are just shining here. And this is what creates the big impact, the big growth, the whatever miracles are there for you and just waiting for you to be courageous and do these, yes, adventures. It feels like a big adventure. And I was at Valencia. So for me, Valencia was a really big adventure. So I totally understand that. And it felt the same. It felt like, okay, there is this opportunity. I'm scared. I'm crazy scared, but I know I'm supposed to be there. So how can I make it happen?
Yeah, I love that. And again, that ripple effect, right? Again, it started with a dream and, beautiful Ray wanting to bring women together. And then you feel that call and that deep intuitive nudge and that trust, which if we don't lean into, we'll find a way or not, or if we don't listen, then we miss the opportunity. And then there's those pieces of regret that come up. And so I've noticed in like the deep listening to intuition and that magic within us, a lot of that came online when I embraced that feminine essence, when I learned to stop and rest in that time frame where I was recalibrating, figuring out who I was, what I wanted to do, and really sitting in that deep rest to reset, to allow my body to heal and to shift and to alchemize and to grow so that I could listen more deeply to that intuition, into the heart, into soul. And those threads that you were talking about, like I need to be there, I need to do this thing. That's how I've led to my sacred yeses to things. And there are still times like I've lent into these sacred yeses and I know the abundance is coming, but it's that deep trust of going, okay, this is a big investment here that I've never done before. And that stretch to say yes and to invest and to keep trusting, that's powerful and freaking scary. And, it will stretch you to the edges, and then magic happens. So I think that's important. I know you love talking about it too.
Yeah. And I'm so glad we could, and we are opening it up so deeply, because it's not everything rainbow and unicorns, but it's scary. The growth is scary, but still in a good way. We are scared, but deep down, when we are tapped into our soul or heart, we feel happy. It's again the duality of it, right? It's the fun duality. That feeling inside of me that is happy, even if I'm scared completely, is the thing that makes me calm down and helps me to go and do the steps. And yeah, that's just incredible. Marie, thank you for being here. And my last question, is there something you feel you need to say? Is there something that our listeners should hear at the end of this episode?
I feel like all these beautiful threads of what we've intuitively spoken about, when we say yes, when we lean into our worth, when we think about our children, if you are mums and parents, that when they witness us in this, the legacy that we are living now, that one day when we're gone, our children see us embody these changes in the now, the eternal now. And as they're growing, it gets to be easier for them. And they get to see role models and embodied men and women that hold this frequency that's going to take them into the new earth, take them into, worlds and paradigms that we now, as the thought leaders, the paradigm shifters, the people that are setting the framework for our children and our children's children, and that the generational legacy that happens in our choices now. And I think, lean in, women, lean into your voice, lean into your body, lean into that trust when you feel that connectedness with leaders and mentors and people that will quantum leap you. So then it gets to be easier for our children. I mean, they're still going to have their own challenges and things, but our generation, like, wow, how resilient, how powerful, how magnificent we are. I'm just honoring all of those that are listening right now, because you are magnificent. So thank you, Poli, as well, for your leadership and your greatness.
Thank you, Marie, for being here with me. And yes, I'm glad we can do this and we can change at least how they can see the world, how they can see their future, how they are seeing their mothers doing what they love, and just even opening our hearts to our missions, to our families, to the legacy we are here to build. Oh, thank you, Marie. It was amazing. And connect with Marie. You have all the links below. So just connect with her because she's amazing. And I'm excited to see you on your journey, and yeah, and to be together on our journeys too. So have an amazing day, you all. And if you're listening to our podcast, don't forget to follow so you can follow more of these amazing women and inspiration for your business growth. Have an amazing day. And Marie, you too. Good night for you.
Bye.